Is this the best value single malt Scotch whisky on the market? Hang around to find out. What's up, whisky lovers, and welcome to another episode of Whisky Straight with me, Big Al. I'm adding a couple of years on to the reviews I've been doing lately, which were the 12-year-old Scotch single malt whisky reviews. Today, adding a couple of years on to have a look at this Clynelish 14. A few whisky tubers who are much greater than I, who have much more wisdom, much more experience, put me into the notion to try this. And the reason why I ask in the introduction, is it the best value single malt, is solely because for a 14-year-old single malt Scotch whisky, you can generally pick this up around the 35 quid mark because it's most often on offer on the likes of Amazon. And you have to say, considering the way the prices of whisky are at the moment, that is one hell of a deal. So, is it really worth picking up even at 35 quid? Well, before we get into it, a wee bit of background about Clynelish. It dates back to 1819. It's on the north-east coastal side of Scotland, a Highland single malt, and it was once known as Brora. And then it came back to Clynelish. I'll put a few links to all this down below. It's quite a complicated history, but now it's part of a lot of distilleries under the Diageo umbrella. Now, this particular bottling was launched in 2002, and it is something that is a wee bit off the radar, but once you pick it up and you get to know it, you're like, you know what? You wonder why it's off the radar. But particularly, this is the base spirit in many of the Johnnie Walker blends, particularly the gold, I'm led to believe. And there are some cracking independent releases of Clynelish. So let's get right on with the tasting and see if this really is one of the best, if not the best value single malt Scotch whiskies out there. Sláinte. We'll start off with the nosing. Orange, heather. Lovely floral notes in there too. A bit of honey as well, Manuka honey. It's also a wee bit syrupy in nature. It gives you that impression, a wee bit of a thicker complexity in there. And there's a fruity element in there as well. And it really does blend nicely with those floral elements even. I'm getting fresh pineapple. There's pear, and it's like mashed pear, it's like poached pear. And there is a slight hint of a briny maritime element, and this is from the northeast coast of Scotland and the Highlands. But you really have to get your nose right in there to pick that up. But it's definitely there. All in all, it's a really lovely nose. There's quite a lot going on. It's all very well balanced. And you really don't get a feeling of any high alcohol content or anything like that. It is so well balanced, it's nice and mild. You would be almost forgiven to think that it was 43% ABV or even 40%. But it is a really nice, mellow, smooth, well balanced nose. So let's get right onto the palate and see how it fares there. Sláinte. right off. Orangey, very, very orangey. There's a nice zesty bite there, a bit of white pepper, even a wee bit of black pepper influence in there as well. And then as it mellows a bit, that oranginess becomes a wee bit more of a mandarin orange. And as that first wee sip fades, it becomes a wee bit drying. And then here comes that first sort of hint on the palate of a maritime influence. Fresh orange, pear again, a wee bit of a dry and oakiness, and then that maritime element that I mentioned after the first sip really comes into play right now. It's a wee bit salty, a wee bit briny, and as someone who lives right beside the seaside and was brought up beside the seaside, in fact, if I just look out my window here, like 100 yards down there, it's the coast. And that second sip on this even brings pictures to mind of drying seaweed on the shore front on a bright, sort of breezy day. It just has that feel about it. Salty, briny, really nice. And unless you've had that experience, it's probably something that you'll not be able to relate to. But if you do live beside the sea, if you have been in a coastal environment, it will resonate with you. So we'll head in again for another sip and then see what the overall thoughts are. It's okay, it's drying. It's a wee bit nutty as well. I'm getting walnuts, hazelnuts. And then there's just a slight wisp of smokiness. And when I'm saying that, it's like the remnants of a small campfire. And that's like a small campfire on the grass a few days after it's actually been put out. The smokiness is there, it's very subtle. But what's nice about it is a nice extension to that maritime, salty, briny feel. Now the mouthfeel here, it's oily. It is really waxy, and that is something that is probably a wee bit unique to this. But it's not the part of suggestion from what it says in the box or the bottle. It really is there. There's a nice waxy mouthfeel. It does really coat the palate. And there's a wee bit of heat there too. And probably the best way I can describe that is, you know, when you light a candle and there's always that one wee bit that runs down, and when you've got that waxy feel in your mouth, there's that nice wee hot bit running down the middle, and that's what that little spicy hot element is in the middle. It's not too bad, but it's still waxy, and it does add a wee bit more of a oomph to the overall feel of this whiskey. Overall, this is a really fantastically good whiskey. It's very balanced. All those floral, fruity, dry oakiness and the briny, salty coastal elements all blend together very, very well. There's nothing that outdoes the other. It's reasonably complex. The finish is probably more medium than long. Does this fit the bill to be the best value single malt Scotch whisky out there? Well, probably not, but it's not a kick in the arse off it. And here's why. You've got the Kilkerran 12, 35 quid. Bloody stunning whisky. You've got the Bunnahabhain 12, 35 quid mostly too. Fantastic whiskey as well. But when you consider that this is 2 years older than those, and while it's generally maybe 10 quid more, it's really easily picked up at the same price. You know what? It's there or thereabouts. You'll not get a 14-year-old or similarly aged single malt Scotch whisky that hits the spot better than this, at better value. It's really that good. It's a fantastic whisky. There's lots going on, complexity, flavour, and in terms of value for money, well, what can I say? So in terms of score, what would I give it? Well, I'm going to do something I haven't done before here, and I'm going to give half a mark. I would probably go as far as saying, I'll take a wee sip before it again just to confirm this. 89.5. This is a fantastic whisky. I know it might be a wee bit more difficult to get in different parts of the world if you're in the US or something like that, but I know it is available there. But if you're in the UK or Europe or anywhere where you can pick this up, check out Amazon. 35 quid regularly, easily available. Pick it up. You will not be disappointed. So there you go, folks. A fantastic 14-year-old whisky. Fantastic value. If you're somewhere that you can pick it up on Amazon, check it out. Keep your notifications on because it's generally on sale at 35 quid, and that's one hell of a bargain for a fantastic whisky like this. So be sure to check it out. So that's it for another review, folks. Thanks again for your ongoing support. Thanks to all you guys who keep coming back to watch me. To my new subscribers, cheers, welcome aboard. And you know what, as we always say, you look after yourselves, you look after each other, and don't forget to keep on drinking your whiskey the way you like it. Sláinte.